All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Workbench, your resource-rich weekly podcast and newsletter for local service entrepreneurs. As always, the Workbench is brought to you by Lead Truffle, the #1 AI speed-to-lead solution for local service businesses. Today, I'm joined by the CEO and founder of Waterloo Turf here in Austin. We got Tim and Lance. They have an amazing turf cleaning and installation, business here in Austin with now like 39 territories and growing. So really excited to dive into their founding story, the business they run, and learn what it's like to scale a franchise from zero. So guys, thank you for coming out, meeting up here in Austin. If you don't mind, whoever wants to take it, could you just tell us a little bit about like what Waterloo is as a business and how it all works, and we can just kind of go from there?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us on. It's cool to jump on the podcast with you, especially both being in Austin. So yeah, Waterloo Turf was founded in 2021, really out of a desire for freedom, both financial and lifestyle. And ultimately, we are a turnkey synthetic grass install company. We have a maintenance side to our business as well, but really we consider ourselves more of a lifestyle business in accordance with that. You know, our slogan is "Get your Saturdays back," and we mean that both on the consumer side, but also on the franchisee side, where if you're stepping in to become a Waterloo Turf owner, or if you are having your backyard completed by Waterloo Turf, we want you to get your Saturdays back and live with that mindset. So that's kind of Waterloo Turf a little bit in a nutshell. Obviously, there's a lot more to the story, but
yeah. So my understanding is that, Lance, you started the business with just a single location. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then Tim, you you guys joined forces then to scale it up to multiple locations. Is that right?
That's right. Yep. So Lance and I have been, I'd say, acquaintances in Austin for a little bit. We both went to the same church.
Okay.
And my background was more on the franchising side. Mm-hmm. And I got really interested in artificial turf just as an industry. I feel like it checks a lot of boxes of what people are looking for before they go into business. It's high ticket, B2B and B2C. There's a recurring revenue element to it, and there's not another national brand. So for us, as well as just in the artificial turf space, the primary competitor is local landscapers who do turf on the side. And so I was looking for an artificial turf company to partner with or acquire in order to go franchise and create a national brand out of it. And that's when Lance and I started chatting a little bit more, just knowing each other through our church group. And we were actually at a pub one weekend on a double date with our wives, and we ran out of things to talk about because the Longhorns, they're kind of up and down. And so we got to this point where it was, well, what do you do for work? Yeah. And realized that Lance owned an artificial turf company, was at this point where he was trying to figure out how he wanted to scale it, and stars aligned, and we put our partnership together to go franchise it.
What about the business kind of caught your eye? Like what stage, and maybe for you as well, Lance, like what stage was the business at this point in time? Was it just you with a truck? How many customers did you have? What was that early footprint like? And then Tim, for you, what about that business kind of caught your eye and said, yeah, I want to go all in on this with Lance?
Yeah, I mean, to go back a little bit further on Timmy's story. So yeah, I started Waterloo in 2021.
Okay.
I'd actually had previous turf experience dating back to 2016. Where I helped start a separate turf company. I ran that company here in Austin for about 3-ish years. And then to me, that was like my first big boy job. You know, I hadn't really done anything else. It was going great, but I saw my friends doing these corporate gigs, traveling across the country, going to these conferences. And to me, I was like, that looks fun. That looks cool. And so all my friends told me, like, dude, you've got what we want. You've got ownership in this business. You're your own boss, essentially. Like, you don't go to the corporate grind. But I am, to a fault, somebody that's like, you could tell me the stove is hot, but I'm going to touch it and find out for myself. So anyways, I exited from that previous company. I went into medical device for 2 years, and I quickly realized everyone was right. That it is more fun to be your own boss. Not as fun being in the operating room and dealing with doctors. So I quit that medical device job the same month. Me and my wife were getting married, which I wouldn't recommend you doing, but that's the way it worked out. Kind of a burn the boats mentality, and started Waterloo Turf. So 2021 through 2024 was just solo, just me here in Austin. In the beginning of 2024, launched San Antonio with a full-time GM in that location, and that really validated what I'd been doing in Austin. He was doing a great job, and it got to the point where he was really running it. I was in Austin, not making very many trips to San Antonio, and it was like, all right, this is working. I knew I always wanted to grow Waterloo. It was just kind of in what capacity. So about 6 months into 2024 is when Timmy and I met, and I was like, do I take this thing corporately, continue to plant Waterloos one by one, or do I want to go the franchising route, which I didn't really know a lot about beyond the McDonald's of the world, but I did have a friend that recently franchised his company. And so I'd kind of been following his story. And so it was just a very God-ordained, stars-aligning moment when Timmy and I met, because it was at that exact point where I was like, I want to continue to grow this thing, but through which vehicle?
Yeah, no, and I want to talk about franchising because it sounds
Yeah.
like that's your world, right, Tim? Yeah, and it's like been a big, for everyone watching this knows that I run a software company called Lee Truffle and been working with a lot of franchises. So I've been getting up to speed on the whole franchise world and that business model, and super interesting for me to learn about it. So I want to deep dive into franchising. In terms of just stepping back for a second, the business itself, right? For me, growing up in New York, living in the city of, let's say, Los Angeles, in LA, I did see more turf on the yards, but growing up in New York, I didn't really see it as much in the suburbs. For those that like may not have really seen like a turf yard, like what is the business around? Like why would someone have turf instead of grass? And then what is the core business model before we dive into some of the more specifics? Can you guys just talk a little bit about like the core business and the service that you provide?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think the things that get talked about a lot are just, saving water, pesticides, emissions, things like that on the...
Yeah, and sorry, just to be clear, you guys are ripping and replacing a current
Yeah,
grass
yeah.
yard and putting artificial turf down,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. So synthetic grass install. So those are all the things that get talked
Yeah.
about. Water's expensive. There's a lot of, water limitations that people are dealing with, especially in the Austin area, but obviously countrywide. So that's a big part. But the other side of it too is we want people to get their time back. We want people to, spend time outside with family and friends. And you don't do that typically as much when you have a sod yard, because you are spending your weekends mowing it, taking care of it. Whereas if you replace it, you have Waterloo turf put in, you get your Saturdays back. You're not out there with the lawnmower. You're actually out there hanging out with your kids, kicking the soccer ball around, turning Netflix off in the evening time, because you can go and put a blanket down on your backyard and hang out. And it even keeps the inside of your house nice and clean, especially with pets. No more muddy paws running in and out. So I would say that's the biggest side of it. I mean, Timmy, he got his full yard replaced about 8 months ago.
Yeah, Tim, what's
so you can really speak to it.
Yeah, for sure. And like, what's in terms of your personal experience as a customer, and then just like for the business owners, like, what's the anatomy of a job for you guys? Is it like step by step? You have to come in, rip out the grass, put down the turf. Like, yeah, just walk us through like from start to finish what a job looks like for Waterloo.
I was one of those guys before I had artificial turf where, number one, I did a terrible job at maintaining my lawn.
Yeah.
And so even though I would put in some time mowing the grass and it was never my favorite thing to do, when you go back home and you're looking out at your backyard and it doesn't look perfect, it's just another thing that's sitting in the back of my mind of that's something that is on my to-do list. I've got to get this fixed. And one of the things that was most surprising for me when I first started looking into artificial turf, not only just as a customer, but also within the business side, is that I was an athlete. So high school, college, I'm playing on these turf fields. I remember when I was younger, I played on an Astro turf field, and you get the carpet burn. And then in high school, there was all this crumb rubber. And what was really surprising to me when I started looking into the industry was just how far landscape artificial turf has come from a residential as well as a commercial perspective. And what was surprising to me is that you can really mimic any kind of grass. There's brown layers of thatching. It looks extremely natural. And my yard looks like a yard should in Austin if it was really well maintained. And so the way that we do our installs, they're bigger jobs. And it's part of the reason why I think it's a great business to get into is that it is a high ticket service, but they can also be done really quickly. So most residential installs last just 1 to 2 days. And so what happens is our guys will come in, they'll clear off the topsoil. They'll then set down about 2 to 3 inches of base. They'll compact it, and then we're rolling out the turf on the top. What's really different about Waterloo turf and where we kind of excel compared to landscapers who might be doing it on the side or other single location turf companies is one of the most important parts of the install is the seaming. And so a lot of turf companies will actually just like lay two pieces of carpet together, and that's where you see that seam look. If you've ever seen that, it's like a little cut down the middle. But what Lance has developed and really trained his crews on is what's called an S seam, and it lets the turf kind of come together so that your backyard is totally seamless and it looks like one flesh piece of grass in the backyard.
Yeah. Look at you, man. Full-blown turf guy.
Turf guy. I'm a turf guy.
Yeah, that was
turf
impressive.
expertise. Love it. Yeah, we got to get that S tier, S lace. No, that's great. That's great. And then, okay, so now let's talk about like scaling this thing up. To your point earlier, Tim, Lance, there was a opportunity where you're like, all right, maybe we should corporate this thing out. Should we open it? Like, can you tell us a little bit, Tim, about your background in franchising and why you felt this was the right way to grow Waterloo?
Yeah, so before Lance and I partnered up, I was an operations executive at a home service franchise platform. And so I was leading the coaching teams, the brand marketing, training, launching across a few different brands. And yeah, I think my desire for artificial turf primarily stemmed around that there was not another national competitor. And so as a franchise owner, when you're opening a new business, it's a lot easier to compete when you don't already have a huge incumbent that's not only big in your area, but they're big in every area. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like it was a good opportunity for somebody to come in and create an artificial turf brand nationally. I really like the franchise model, especially for home services like artificial turf, because you're actually able to expand with people that are fully their own business owners. And so we know, and you know as a business owner, that nobody cares about your business more than you do. So versus expanding Waterloo Turf with kind of salespeople in different areas, we knew that we would get the attention on quality and customer experience and business development if we expanded it through business owners, which is why I thought it'd be a good fit for franchising.
How has the franchising process been? I mean, I've talked to so many franchises over the past couple months, and it sounds like one of the biggest challenges is finding the right franchisees, right? You need to find this person who's the perfect mix of entrepreneur, yet can follow a system, has the capital requirements. For you guys, how's the franchising process gone so far?
It's been great. We've been real excited about it. I agree. You know, there's many individuals out there today that like the SMB space, kind of home services. It's been romanticized in a lot of ways, and I think for many good reasons, because it is a lot of fun. And artificial turf is, I mean, Lance will tell you, it's different than other home services for a few different reasons, and so we love the space that we're in. What we have to be careful about is our goal is to become the national artificial turf brand, and so we need owners who are dialed in and they want to go all in to dominate their local markets. And so a lot of what we do is we're trying to find people who are excited about that vision. They want to build a really great local business where they can have impact and influence locally while being a part of a national brand. Many people are looking for passive income. And so that's primarily what we're trying to filter out, is trying to figure out who wants to be dogs with Lance and I out there just turfing the world, and people who are looking for an annuity check to show up in their mailbox every month. I think one of the most important things that we did that's really helped us in franchising and giving us the ability to go make sure that we are aligning ourselves with only the right owners is we raised capital before we started franchising. And so after Lance and I put our partnership together, we went out and raised 7 figures of growth capital. And it's important for us, number one, we were able to put the franchise infrastructure and support team together before we brought on franchise owners, and so they could experience that support versus us building it along the way. But number two, it also gave us the cash cushion to say no to people who weren't aligned with us. And so I fully agree with you. I think that is the challenge in franchising, is finding the aligned people, but they're out there. It's just a matter of finding the right.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I feel like that's not something I've typically heard in the franchises I've spoken to. It seems like the franchisor's number one goal is, hey, we need to get more franchisees signed up, because the franchisees, both through their investment and then the royalties, are what's going to fund the business. I haven't heard as many people say, hey, we're going to first raise money and then go get the franchisees. What led to that decision, and how was that process? I think most people are familiar with, I got a tech startup, I raised a seed round, pre-seed, whatever, Series A. What was that initial investment sourcing process like for you guys to get that pre-franchisee capital?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. I mean, it was enjoyable. I think, just from Lance having built a really good business model and a real story that we were able to show investors that this is not only working in Austin with Lance, who's a great operator, but we also have San Antonio. And you can look at the first 12 months for how that location launched, where Lance wasn't even there every single day running the business. And so showing the model is repeatable and that the system that Lance has developed can be extended for other operators to run it. At that point, it was just putting together what's our franchise plan and sharing that with investors. Yeah, we got a lot of excitement around it. We were oversubscribed in 14 days. And so it really didn't take long for us to put together the right investors, people that wanted to be aligned on our timeline and not just looking for a quick way to flip their own money.
Yeah. Now, Lance, you're both operating at the franchisor level and you're running a location day to day. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that balance like for you? How are you breaking up your day in terms of like, hey, I got to go put in some turf at, John Q's backyard tomorrow versus also, hey, we got to grow this franchise platform and get to 100, 200 locations by, whatever your targets might be. How are you balancing the kind of dual hats it sounds like you may be wearing?
Yeah, no, it's really just been a growth period. So when the franchisor became a thing, obviously a lot of my time went there and still has. And so it required me to grow my Austin business, which I think is probably a fear a lot of business owners, startup owners have. It's, for me, this is my baby. I love this thing. I've poured so much into this. And like Timmy was saying earlier, like no one's going to care as much about your business as you, the business owner, will. So I was at a point where I was like, in order for me to make this a reality, I need to grow my team. I need to hire. And so now here in Austin, I've got 2 full-time turf pros, or what we call it, 2 reps, that are out selling the turf, managing the projects, and I'm more on the business development, business oversight side of things. So I'm not at the point anymore where I'm quoting. I'm not really, out on project sites. I'm really overseeing the business and making sure these reps are in the best spots to be successful and continue to grow the business at the rate that we want it to. So that's really what it came down to, and it's been a great thing. And I would encourage other business owners, if they're at that point where they feel like the business is running them and they're not running the business anymore because they have grown it to the point where they need help, like that's a good problem to have, and go into it, like go dive deep into it, get the help you need, and continue to grow your business.
We love to talk tactics, actionable insights. People watching maybe are starting a business, they have started a business, they want to start a local service business. So we always like to dive into things people can learn from you, maybe copy and steal for their own business. I think always probably most important one for business is like getting new customers. So for you guys, what seems to be working best across either your specific territory or all 39 for getting new customers in the door from a sales and marketing perspective? Is it door knocking, digital, SEO, ChatGPT? What's working for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to the stuff that I see on a day-to-day basis, and Timmy can speak to what we see on the franchisor side. But kind of, again, like Timmy touched on earlier, turf is different than most home service industry brands, I guess. It's, if the example we always use is, Brian, if you had gutters installed and you had friends come over on Friday, really good chance your friends aren't going to look up and be like, dude, those gutters are amazing. Like, who did that for you? But with turf, it's going to be noticed, and it's a double-edged sword. So ideally, it's noticed for the high-quality work, the craftsmanship, that it looks amazing. But it's going to be noticed, it's going to be asked about, and so turf is very much a word-of-mouth business. That first year is, get as many clients as you can, perform high-quality work, build high-quality high-quality relationships with your clients, and then from there, one job is not just one job. We believe one job has the spider web effect to become 10 jobs because it is going to be noticed, it's going to be asked about, and ultimately those friends and families are going to be reaching out to you to come and quote their yards and ideally install Waterloo turf.
Yeah, I think on that note, what we figured out in the turf world, so the average job ticket can be about $10,000 residentially. So nobody's going to take a bet on you. Like, everybody wants to know that their investment is going to be perfect. And so you can never outsell a bad reputation. And so I fully agree with Lance. It all starts with the quality of work, and the work will speak for itself. I think what we've learned this last year is how to amplify that voice. And so one of the things that we've been really dialed in on lately is capturing raw customer reactions and testimonials, because when your yard is just an absolute dump, and then you come out and you see this green, clean, lush-looking yard, and you're never going to have to be mowing every single weekend again to keep it looking like this, there's some really great customer reactions. And so we've been filming these, whether it's the raw reaction or interviewing clients after their install and just asking them what their experience was like, what their problem was, how did we come in and solve it, how quick were we able to solve it for them, and then just sending that out, not only just to our local referral partners and contractors, but we'll put it on socials, we'll promote it, we'll do everything just to get the quality of the work that we are doing out there more for it to speak for itself.
Yeah, no, and I think that I've come across a few businesses now that really make organic social a big part of their marketing strategy because it is very local in nature. If they're doing a very visual service, it helps. Have you guys, prior to the customer testimonials and reactions, which I think are great, like what role do you find organic social playing in the overall marketing strategy for the business?
We think it's huge. And so this was something that Lance started was just through brand building. And so wanting to build a local brand that did quality work is really how Waterloo was started. And so on our franchisor side, we've invested heavily in our own creative team and social media team. And so for each of our franchisees, we create their social accounts for them. It's their own social account. They get to engage locally with it. They get to post their own photos and all of that. But we're also getting extremely high quality content with the production employees that we hire, going out, getting drone footage of sites we're doing here or maybe in other areas so that we can consistently post and create a very active storefront for all of our franchise owners. And again, this is a high ticket project. And so what we have found is that most customers will do their due diligence on whoever their turf provider or installer is going to be. And so having that organic social, even if it's not bringing in a bunch of leads at the start, it's really important because it's going to increase your close rate as a local operator.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think empowering the franchisees with like the ability to engage locally, but then create a level of content they may not, want to or be able to generate on their own with, say, a drone makes a lot of sense. What are some other things that you found have been helpful in empowering the franchisees to perform well? Obviously, there's the playbook. I'm guessing how to install the turf, right? Like those 101 type of instructions. But like, what else have you seen be like the most impactful for making sure, like, let's say I signed up as a franchisee tomorrow to make sure that I'm going to have success over the next 6 to 12 months with the business?
Lance started in turf about a decade ago. And so he's got all of this knowledge. And so the first thing we did before we started franchising was Lance locked himself in a closet for about 3 months and put together a full operating manual. It's both written SOPs with videos, outside content that he's found helpful for him as he has learned and kind of progressed in his own artificial turf company. But I think it's over 60 hours of content for us at this point. So when our franchise owners come in, we start them on this as fast as possible, letting them learn all about turf. And then about 45 days after they sign on a franchise as a franchisee, they'll come in for 4-day in-person training in Austin, at which point we really take all that head knowledge that they've been cramming into their skull and we put it into their hands. And so we get very hands-on with the turf. We don't want our franchise owners installing turf themselves. They should be using a crew for that. But when they come to Austin for in-person training, we're going to have them get their hands on it and do some parts of the install themselves so that they can really understand it. From there, they're matched up with a turf coach on our side. And this is somebody that we've gone out and recruited who actually has artificial turf experience, whether it's from sales plus installation and project management. A lot of franchisors I've seen will hire what they call a business coach. It's kind of like a generalist person who can help out. But for us, we think that the quality of work is so important that we wanted somebody who has been in the trade for a long time. So both of our turf coaches that we have currently actually owned artificial turf companies and exited successfully. And now they're in the part of their career where they're excited to give back to the next generation of people who are growing their own artificial turf companies. And so our franchise owners will meet with those turf coaches every single week, going over estimates, install questions, project management, whatever they need before they actually go and start their first installs, at which point we will send our team out for what we call opening support, and we want to kick off their first 1 to 2 jobs with them while we go with them on estimates, give them coaching, and do commercial drop-ins with them as well to drum up business.
Wow, okay. Love that. In terms of growth, where we're going, we started in 2021, right? Now we're at 2025, almost the end of 2025, 39 locations active. What are the targets? What are we looking at over the next couple of years? Do you guys have a growth plan, big goals, big, scary, audacious goals? What is the focus for Waterloo here over the next couple of years?
So the opportunity for us is there's no national turf brand. And so we want to become the national turf brand. As far as timeline, we don't really like to put a timeline on it. We want to grow. Our goal is to make sure that we have the right owners dominating their local markets. And so we've got a very long time horizon. There is no incumbent we've got to take down. I think it's really ours for the taking, but we're going to go at the speed that we feel like prioritizes quality of work while bringing in great franchise owners.
Love that. Cool, guys. For people that may want to join as a franchisee or just learn more about the business, or maybe follow you personally, if you want to plug your personal socials or just the business, let folks know where they can check out Waterloo Turf.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. Timothy Lovett. Lance is on LinkedIn as well. And then we also have a YouTube channel, which is at Waterloo Turf, and you can follow us along there.
Yeah, I would say highly recommend give Timmy a follow on LinkedIn. You will find out all things Waterloo Turf, but also Instagram.
Yeah.
Go on our Instagram. Waterloo Turf's the main one, but each location has their own as well. So you can bounce around on there and see some pretty cool content, some transformations, all that good stuff.
Appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
good to see you, Brian.
Appreciate it.